She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today is going to shock you. We recently wanted to know, how do families who have 7, 8, 9, 10 children or more make it? How do they do it? How do they live? Like, what does their life actually look like? Now, you might be thinking, yeah, like, how does that work? I'm just going crazy with my 1-2-year-old toddler. They're driving me crazy. Well, listen, some people out there have made a choice to have big families. And when Hans and I first started out, I don't think either one of us thought we would have 5 children. Honestly, I don't think that we did. But to be quite honest with you, at this stage in my life, I feel like the greatest, most successful thing that we have ever done was raised a family. The most rewarding, the most fulfilling, the most exciting, and the most challenging thing that we've ever done was raise kids. But honestly, when I introduce you to the people that I'm introduced to today, I look like a complete amateur. Okay, yes, I'm a businesswoman. I've been in business for 29 years. I've ran companies. I've started all different types of businesses, been in lots of different arenas. I've spoken all over the world, and I did this part-time while I was raising my kids. And for 13 years of raising my kids, I actually homeschooled at least 1 to 2, and then one time we did all of them at the same time. But fortunately, by then, there was only 3 left that were in school. I understand the desire to be a mom and to do that job well. I also understand what it feels like to fail as a mother and to wonder if I'm doing it right and to wonder if I'm going to completely screw my kids up. My hope today, as I introduce you to several families who have more than 5 kids, more than 7 kids. In fact, our first guest has 13 children. 13 children, been married for 21 years. Amazing. 13 kids. So we've got joining us on Skype from Clarksville, Tennessee, we've got Erin Compton. Erin, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Me.
Hi. Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here.
I have to tell you that I want to get off of the couch and just bow down. I'm serious. Okay, because it's now 2018, right? And our entire focus for this year, for our show and for the website and our training seminars is play to win. And so oftentimes the biggest thing that gets in the way of playing to win is excuses. And people find excuses with only having 2 kids. And so I kind of wanted to obliterate any excuses of people who think they've got a lot going on when they've just got 2 or 3 kids or even 5. And I really wanted to highlight you champion parents who have gone far and beyond the 1.9 children average in our country. And you have obliterated that and have 13 kids. I just got to know, when you were growing up, did you always dream of having a huge family?
I wanted a large family. In fact, I remember once in my Spanish class, my teacher asked everyone to raise your hand if you wanted 10 kids. And I was the only one who raised my hand. I don't think I was serious, but it sounded good,
Oh
looking back, though, I'm one of 2. My husband is one of 3. So we're not from big families. It's just circumstances have guided us this way. And
now, where do you mean circumstances have guided you this way?
Well, we started out really young, married right after I graduated from high school.
Wow.
My husband was going to college, and I was starting to do some community college and working also at the same time. We had 2 little boys, and then we became pregnant with our 3rd child. And in that pregnancy, we had a pretty negative ultrasound experience. And we were told that our son, our 3rd child, had multiple markers of trisomy 18. And
what does that mean? What is that?
Trisomy 18, the best case scenario is your baby might live to be a couple days old.
Oh my gosh.
So we of course were presented with options, which our faith made it so that our only option was to deliver our child and be thankful for however he came to us.
Yeah.
And through that pregnancy, we just totally revised our priorities. And instead of college and careers being the most important thing and, investments, we decided, the greatest investment we can make is in life and life around us. And no matter how life comes to us, that's what we're going to invest in. And so after our son was born healthy, we next adopted.
Wait, so how old is your son?
He's 16.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Praise God.
Yeah.
So I guess your faith worked and abortion was not an option.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then you adopted a child for number 4.
Number 4, our daughter came to us from Haiti, and she's now 15. And at the time, it looked crazy to have 3 little boys and to go to another country to adopt another child. But love makes you do crazy things.
Yeah.
So, we brought her home and had several more children. Like I said, after that experience with our son, we thought, we're not going to complain about the late nights and the diaper changing and the little tasks that go along with raising children, because investing in them is the only thing that eternally matters. They're the only things we can possibly bring with us. So riches here are wonderful, but eternal riches are even greater. And that's been our focus as a family.
Wow. So you have 13 children. How old is the oldest and how old is the youngest?
Oldest is 21 and the youngest is 11 months.
Oh my
gosh. We're doing everything from college to nursing right now.
Oh my gosh.
And we do homeschool.
Wow. Now, what does your husband do for a living?
He's a public school teacher. So we both teach. He teaches at the public schools and I teach at home.
And you guys have about the same size classroom.
We do. We do.
The difference is he gets paid to do this. So I think the big question that people have is, how in the world do you afford on a teacher's salary to supply food and shelter for 13 children?
We made very deliberate decisions. 10 years ago, we moved from California to Tennessee. That was step number 1. Yeah. California is a state where you really have to have 2 incomes with a family.
It's actually an anti-family state, in my opinion. I think they
it really is.
Yeah. I mean, from the values to the expenses to the taxes to, again, all of the new laws. They want to touch our children. They want to inoculate our children. They want to control our children. They want to influence our children. I mean, to me, we moved from California 9 years ago. So, and that was largely
about the same time. Mm-hmm.
Really? Yeah. So and moving to Texas was like phenomenal. Like everyone got a raise. Our staff got a raise just because of the tax situation, which was amazing. Right. Okay, so this is crazy.
My husband, he actually took a pay cut moving out here, but we could still afford a house. Wow. So, it's all relative. It's cost of living and, availability of jobs and houses.
Wow.
So, so that's how we afford it in one sense. We're also very careful about spending, stay within our means. And like I said, our investment is our children. And seeing them grow and be successful is greater than anything else we could do. We don't drive new cars.
Yeah. Neither do we. And we're the millionaires. We don't drive new cars either, and we haven't. I mean, it's a once in a while. Like my husband bought a new truck last year that he drove a 2002 bucket of junk. Like the interior was thrashed. Okay. The dash was missing. The door, the plastic that covers the door was off. Okay. I mean, this thing was thrashed and it was fine. Like Hans, it's time. Hello. It's not going to hurt your bank account if you write a check for a new truck. It's a truck. We're not buying a Bentley. We're not buying a Ferrari. Come on now. Exactly. You've been driving this thing forever. It's time. Guess what? Our youngest son is driving it now.
There you go. That's exactly right.
And it's
thrashed. Just hands straight down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So so it's so interesting because there are people that have chosen, rather than having kids, to actually lease new cars, right? To have bigger houses, to have all this stuff, and they're miserable. So I want to know, what does the day in the life of your family, of the Compton family, look like with 13 children?
Well, since our oldest two are now in college, they actually get up early and are usually gone before I'm up.
So they're still living at home.
They are still living at home.
Wow.
They both have full scholarships, but by living at home, they're making money by going to college. So we told them, we're not doing this with any student debt. So they're happy to live at home and help out with chores and different errands that we need to run. And so they have an income just by going to school. So we also, our two youngest sons, we adopted them from China a year and a half ago, and they both have cerebral palsy. So our morning starts out with lots of medication, getting them up and going, and stretches and getting their leg braces on. And everyone else is paired up with buddies, and get the little ones served breakfast, and then we do chore time. My kids are also very musical. In our homeschool, music has been a subject as much as math or science or anything else.
Absolutely.
That's another way that they now have an income. They teach out of our home every afternoon, and, they don't get allowance. They actually have to work for their income.
Yes.
So they do their music practice, then we do our schooling, and Dad comes home in the afternoon, and we have our time together as a family.
Wow. I'm just so impressed with you. You truly are grooming the next generation for success. That's what you're doing. You are not grooming your kids to fail. You're teaching them work ethic. You're teaching them how to be unified as a family. You're teaching them vision. You're teaching them entrepreneurial skills. You're teaching the older ones responsibility, which they've known their entire life. You're teaching them not to go into debt. You're giving them the best path of success. And yet there are families that don't even have any children, and they're setting themselves up for failure. And then they're setting up their one or two kids up for failure by not teaching them what you're teaching your children. Number one, I respect you and your husband so much that you have not allowed a teacher's salary to stop you from investing into the next generation. You have not allowed our society to tell you couldn't have 13 children. Right. You're not allowing your ego get in the way. You purposely adopted children with a disease that you knew would require more work. But this builds character and the entire family. You really are the model family woman, and I'm really, really proud of you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Having big families is making a big comeback, and you might be surprised at what your family can learn from them. Next on The Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can take The Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org. Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
I don't know about you, but I am very inspired by Erin with 13 children. And then you have to ask yourself, are there other people out there like her that have like 13 kids? The answer is yes. Friend, I'm really blown away. We literally just put on our Facebook page, which is Dani Johnson Live. If you haven't been to our Facebook page, come on over and meet this incredibly supportive community. But somehow we have loads of families that are huge, that have been on Facebook with us, a part of the supportive community. And I wanted to know, how do these larger families do it? How are they making it? How do they make ends meet? How do you raise a tribe of 13? We've got another one, Edith from Pennsylvania. Edith, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hi. So you also have 13 children and your youngest is now 14.
Absolutely, we do.
How did you do that?
Well, I want to first say I'm not like Erin, who was raised in a small family.
Okay. You were raised in a big one.
I was the oldest of 11. Yes, I was the oldest of 11. And I was my mom's right-hand girl and my dad's. We had a farm. And so I was just taught how to do family from little on up.
Wow.
So I was well groomed as far as that's concerned. And, for me to have my own family, I just stepped from my mom's family to my own, really.
Wow. Wow. So you had dreamed of having a large family like the one you came from?
Well, I don't know if I even dreamed about it. It was just, we were raised conservative Mennonite, and most of us just had big families.
Yeah.
That was just the way we did it, you know. So it wasn't like, are we going to have 2 or 3 or 10 or 13? We didn't even go there. We just took for granted we were going to have a big family like we all do.
Wow. Wow. So can you kind of share with me, because, there's women who are going crazy with just 1 2-year-old or, 3 little kids. I mean, when I saw the women that I was going to be interviewing today, and we've got one father as well, I was like, I am such a full-on amateur. I only had 5. I only had 5. And mind you, we regret that we only had 5. On this side of it, about 7 years ago, Hans had said, man, I wish we would have had 7. He said, if I knew what I know now, as far as building a legacy, right? And generational wealth, and establishing something powerful spiritually and business-wise and family-wise, we wish we would have had far many more kids. And I wanted more. He was the one that was like, no, we're done. He didn't want any more after 2. So give us an example, because I'm an amateur. I can't even get in the ring with you. Give me one tip of how you manage 13 kids, because that one tip can work for managing 1 kid.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is where I think it really is at, because I hear moms, like you said, people with 2 kids, and they're just pulling their hair out and wondering how I can handle it with a 13. But I really think the difference is, when I know I have a big family, I know that my heart has to be here. This is my focus. This is my career. This is where my passion is.
Yes.
And my husband was the same way. He worked with our kids. We worked together. He did not go away to work. Thankfully, we were able to work together alongside our kids, work together as a family. And so together, we just did our things. I mean, he was with me through well, actually, he delivered half my babies.
What?
And, we were that type of person.
That's amazing.
That we just, yes, but we were blessed that we were able to do that. And, but I would just say that the biggest thing was just be committed to being a family. We homeschooled, and we didn't try to keep up with what other people were doing and the way they were doing things. But, we just wanted our family to work, to have peace, to learn work ethic, to fear God, and all of that,
Yeah.
But you have to focus on it. You have to be committed. And I'm just so proud of my husband because all these years, I'm telling you, he worked with kids. He worked with the children, day in and day out. And I think for him, it was kind of difficult because men want to work with men, with peers. They don't just want to work with children all their life. But
how in the world, how did you guys provide for yourselves if he was home? Do you guys have a family business or a farm?
Yes, we're on a farm.
Wow.
So we did produce, and now they have, they started a roofing business 10 years ago, and the sons are they've taken that over, and they're doing extremely well. I mean, my 19-year-old is the foreman of a crew of 5-6 people.
Wow.
And, they're extremely successful, but it's because we're committed. Allowed them to work with us in the trenches.
That's amazing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to getting to Dani Johnson's First Steps to Success, my husband and I were completely broke. We just filed bankruptcy. We lost our home to foreclosure, and we were on food stamps. After the second day of her event, we figured out where all our money was going. We got ourselves out of debt in 3 months. We paid off $18,000 worth of debt and are completely debt-free. And now we've finally created a life of our dreams. We've made a 6-figure business, and we're just doing everything that we want. So if you're thinking about coming to First Steps to Success, you've got to make it happen. Sign up right now and make sure you don't miss it.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was hopelessly lost in addiction. My relationships with people, coworkers, family, friends failed. I was struggling under the bondage of debt, and I had no clear vision or purpose for my life. After attending my First Steps to Success, I've been able to pay off $7,000 in debt in about 4.5 months. I have a clear vision and purpose for my life. I can honestly say that my addictions are a thing of the past. If you're interested in changing your life in whatever way, in whatever area, you need to log into DaniJohnson.com, and you need to be at the next First Steps to Success.
Prior to coming to First Steps, I was miserable. I never talked to people because I thought I was shy, I thought I was boring, and I thought that I was destined to be alone forever. After coming to First Steps to Success, I broke through all of those lies. I built confidence, and I used the skills that I've learned there to get myself an amazing job where I will be put quickly into a position of leadership. So if you're ready to find out who you are, why you are the way you are, and how to get new skills to dramatically change your life, you need to join me at the very next First Steps to Success. No excuses, no delays, get registered now.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm from Massachusetts. And before plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was buried under a sea of self-doubt, fear, and my communication skills were non-existent. Sales non-existent as well. But after attending First Steps to Success, my sales have quadrupled. My fear has been lifted, and my relationships are better than ever because I communicate better than ever. If you want your life to turn around, all your dreams start coming to fruition, you are going to be at first steps to success.
Prior to plugging in to Dani Johnson, my husband and I were drowning in a sea of debt. I had broken relationships all around me of the ones that I cared most about, and I had started a company that was losing more money than it was making. And after plugging into Dani Johnson, we have paid off $196,000 in 13 months. My company has grown 90%, and I have relationships that I could never have even imagined with the ones I care most about around me. So I don't know about you. Maybe you're making all the money you need to. Maybe you're doing great. Maybe your relationships are phenomenal. But if they're not, I encourage you to get to the next first steps to success.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I don't know about you, but I have been brought to tears so far on today's show, especially with Edith. 13 children. Her youngest now is 14, and her advice to those who have a 2-year-old and being driven crazy by the 2-year-old was, you have to be committed. You have to be 100% committed in your relationship, and you have to be 100% committed that this is your profession. This is your chosen profession. You are a mom. Man, there were times where I really questioned my commitment. I really questioned my ability. Now, mind you, I mean, up against this lineup, we've had 2 women who have 13 children, along with their husbands. They both have edified their husbands so beautifully. 2 honorable wives who've taken their jobs seriously, and I celebrate that. I'm so excited to bring to you this next couple. They've got 9 children. Renard and Gina Bartow from New York. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you so much, Dani. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to see you guys. You guys look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. A lot of makeup for both of us.
Okay, so 9 kids. So did the 2 of you, Renard, when you guys got married, did you have a plan to have a big family?
You know what? We were so young. We got married at 21 and 20, and you know, I think by today's standards, that's pretty young. So I was just a stupid kid who fell in love with the most beautiful woman in the world, and kids were not even on the radar at that point. We were just young and enjoying life.
How old were you guys when you had your first baby?
I was 20.
You you were 21.
Yeah.
21.
Okay, so early on in the relationship. So, in fact, Gina, how old were you when you had your last child?
My last child, wow.
25?
Yeah.
No. You had 9 children in 5 years?
No, okay, so let's back up a little bit. We do have 9 children. We have 3 biological children who are our oldest that we're talking about. Yeah. But we also have, over the past 15 years, we do foster care here in our county in New York, and through the foster care system, we've had many children in our home, but 6 have been freed for adoption, and we've adopted them. And so that's how we got up to 9.
Wow. So you adopted 6 children on top of the 3 that you guys birthed yourselves. Yes. That is so commendable. You know, because the foster care system, you know, has some challenges. And for somebody to adopt a child out of the foster care system, which clearly proved that you were not in this to make money, but that you loved these kids and chose to give them a home and to give them a family. So do this, because there's some people that are driven crazy by their one or two. And this is what I've noticed. Again, I don't hold a candle to you guys. I only had 5. I only had 5. And even though when we lived in California, people thought we were crazy, they would ask the question, are you Catholic? Are you Mormon? You know, do you have a TV? I mean, literally, like, it was probably weekly that I got asked these questions when they would see me at the grocery store with my kids around the cart. You know what I mean? And a wooden spoon in my purse. This was called accountability. Anyway, so they thought I was crazy, but I mean, you guys, you know, almost doubled what it was that we raised. And not only that, but you took on kids who had a rough background. So that's an even harder thing. That's a taller order than what I had to, than what I did and what Hans and I did together. So give us like a tip for how you managed to have 9 children in the same house and manage to provide and to train them up and raise them up and love them and have time as a real family together.
Go ahead.
Well, when we first started doing foster care, we built our ministry, and that's exactly what it is and what it was, on the scripture that says love never fails.
Yes.
So, you know, by the grace of God, we received these children in our home, and treated them just like they were a part of the family. Yeah. We had a lot of communication with our biological children, which I would encourage very much so for anybody who is, you know, thinking of going this route. That is the most important thing, is open communication and, you know, connecting with everyone and making sure everybody is really okay through the process, because it is a process. And so, you know, taking them in and them becoming a part of the family, being accepted and, you know, connecting with them where they're at. I mean, every one of them had challenges, you know, and still have challenges to overcome.
Yep.
But you know what? Love is, I know it sounds cliche, but
it's not.
No. I really pray no one hears it that way, because it really isn't. That's really the key.
Yes.
To overcoming everything, every obstacle we even have as adults, whether you're adopted or not. That's what brings us through.
Yes. And in our marriages, right? Love never fails. If we choose love, then we will not fail. But if we choose to be right, we will fail. If we choose to prove someone else wrong, we will fail. But if we choose love, it never fails. So how many kids have you loved on in your guys' marriage that you've brought into your home?
Well, we've had around 20, 25 children coming in and out, various circumstances. You know, we've done respite care for other foster families. And we've also, you know, some of the foster children that we had who were reunited with their biological parents, we have gone into their home. We've allowed them to come into our home. Wow. It's been actually a wonderful adventure. It's been a journey, that's for sure.
So is it 25 in addition to the 6 that you adopted?
Yeah, we've had, yes.
So it's like 31 kids.
And we actually have a 4-year-old who's in foster care who's been with us since he was 6 months old.
Oh, so that's a 10th kid so far. And wow.
That's the 10th one. Yeah, we're hoping he's going to be freed, and we'll see what happens in the future. And you know, as Gina spoke about love, 2 of our daughters, they were both biological sisters. When they came to us, they were, you wouldn't believe. And just touching our daughter, Candace, on the arm would cause her to scream. And, you know, it literally took months and months and months of her sitting next to me at the dinner table, and I would just rub her hand, and eventually she allowed me to rub her hand, and then I would rub her shoulder. And she was 2 at the time, right? And, you know, if you laughed loudly, or if you said no, something, it would throw her off.
Wow.
That's kind of how they've come to us at times. And we just love them so hard because, and, you know, our biological daughters, they were on board from the beginning.
Wow.
And they loved them just as hard. If we went on vacation, the foster children came on vacation. They became one of us. And that just, you know, your prayer is that maybe them spending a week, 2 weeks, 2 years in our home, or their entire life in our home, but that they would, when and if they go back to their biological parents, and if that whole thing collapses again, at least they had a touch and a taste of it doesn't have to be like where they are, you know? That's something they could hold on to.
Yeah, and it definitely makes a difference. You deposited something that was eternal inside of those kids. I'm in tears and so inspired by you to your love, but also what you did with your biological girls, that you trained them to have great character. You trained them to deny themselves and pick up their cross and to walk the path of love versus being selfish brats, self-centered, walking through life. But instead, you helped to develop incredible godly character inside of those girls. And you raised girls that were secure with themselves. And there needs to be more parents out there like you who are able to instill that kind of beautiful, harmonious, peaceful, solid as a rock character that you developed in your daughters. And sorry that I'm in tears because I was like one of those little girls, right? One of the ones that are your foster kids that wouldn't allow to be touched, or a scream like freaked them out. My sisters and I should have been in foster care many times throughout our childhood, so I could have only hoped to have encountered parents like you, people who were accepting and loving. You really, my hat's off to you. Thank you so much for sharing and taking time away from the 9 children or 10 children today. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
What's the difference between you and every other parent in your neighborhood? Find out next on The Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can take The Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
My name is Mario Johns. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I just want to share with you on April 14, 2013, that was the first day I heard the name Dani Johnson. And I was so inspired by her story. And I just had to find out, you know, how did she go from homeless to millionaire? And it was just so inspiring to me. So I went on DaniJohnson.com and I started getting the daily emails, the daily fixes. And then after a while, I just stopped reading them for some reason. And August of 2013, it was 4 days before my first event. After work, I went on YouTube, and I typed in Dani Johnson's name, came to my mind, so I typed it in on YouTube, and I sat at my kitchen table for about an hour and just listened to testimonial after testimonial. And I was just so inspired. I'm like, I have to get to this first steps to success. And I had no money. I didn't know how I was going to get there. the funny thing was, a week prior to this day, I got a credit card in the mail that I never asked for. It was a $1,200 credit limit. I was gonna cut it up, but I figured I'd save it for like the emergency. I got my event ticket, my flight, and my hotel room. I maxed that sucker out, and I came down to Dallas, Texas. And the first 3 hours of the first day, I was just like in tears the whole time. I was just so blown away. It was something that I was just so hungry for. And prior to plugging in, I was a depressed, hopeless, suicidal drug addict. I hated myself, I hated life, I hated other people. I felt like a slave to debt, and I actually accepted debt as part of my life. I had toxic relationships, and I was, and then since plugging in, I've been drug-free for 15 and a half months now. I paid off over $13,000 worth of debt in a little over 13 months. I've completely restored my relationships with my family, my friends. I have amazing friends today from around the world. I love my life, and this is just an honor to be up on this stage. If I just want to say, if you're new here, one thing that I wish I did is one of my favorite products is War on Debt, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't been following that as like I should be. My first event, if I got War on Debt and followed that with diligence, today I'd be debt free. So I just want to encourage you, if you're new here and you have debt, I highly recommend getting that, because that's by the end of this year I want to be debt free, and that's my goal. So please help me welcome back to the stage America's favorite millionaire, Dani Johnson.
The way you look at things is about to change. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
If you weren't in tears on that last segment, you must like be sleeping or something. And if you're sleeping and watching this show, please turn something else on. Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Today we are challenging you in the area of parenting. So many people get overwhelmed with their 1 or 2 children, and they're not even committed as parents. And what do I mean by that? What are you training your kids to be? Do you realize that you are their coach? You're their advocate? Do you realize that you're training them to succeed and to reign in the marketplace one day? You're training them to have an amazing marriage one day and to be great parents themselves, or you're allowing society to train them, or as I say, to groom them for failure. Grooming the next generation for success is so important. We've had generation after generation of kids who've been groomed to fail. Spoiled, rotten, self-centered brats. They don't want to be that way. But too many parents rather be their kid's friend than their advocate. Today, we've interviewed 3 different families. 2 with 13 kids, 1 with 10. Now we're moving to a woman who has 11 children in 1,100 square feet of a home. There's no excuse for you that if you've got one and you're going crazy, then it's time to learn some new skills. And I think largely these families who have a lot of kids, they can't put up with excuses with their kids. They can't put up with bad character with their kids. They can't put up with lazy kids. They have to teach the kids to pitch in, to help, to be responsible, to be honorable, to be respectful. If there's going to be any peace or harmony in a home, then we have to stay on top of it with training up our children to be what they should be, what they need to be in order to succeed in their future marriage, their future business or job, and as a parent. We have to make sure that we're grooming the next generation for success. Otherwise, we're going to do what everybody else is doing, and that is grooming the next generation for failure. Selfish, spoiled, rotten brats are not happy. And they're certainly not happy when they cannot get promoted but instead get fired. They certainly cannot be happy when they're constantly fighting with their spouse and end up broken apart again. And they certainly are not going to be happy, but instead they're going to run from the kids that they birthed because they've duplicated the process all over again. We are a mess as a society, but I got to tell you, today I am so inspired after interviewing these 3 people who came from the supportive community that we have on Facebook. At Dani Johnson Live, our Facebook page, we simply ask the question, who has 7 or more children? We'd love to talk to you and know how you do it. And we got flooded with people who have 7, 8, 10, 5, 4, 15 children. Or even like the couple that we just interviewed who have had over 30 children in their home through the foster care system, who have adopted 6 of those in addition to their 3 that they birthed themselves, hoping for an adoption of a 7th child right now, which will make it a total of 10 kids. This community that gathers and rallies around this show, that gathers and rallies around the website, DaniJohnson.com, that has gathered and rallied around the book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, and the home study course. These are conscious parents. These are real people who are making a real difference in society. And I am totally inspired today. We're going over to the phones. We've got Maggie from California who's called in 11 kids in a home that's 1,100 square feet. Woman. Wow.
Hi.
And here we have women who have one child who's telling her husband that her 3,300 square foot house is too small and her 2-year-old car is 2 years old and I want a new one. And, we can't afford to go to Bora Bora. And how come we can't eat out all the time? Oh my gosh, Maggie, you have 11 children and 1,100 square feet. How in the world do you make that work?
Elimination. Important things go on top. Really, just the process of teaching and learning how to be satisfied and content and grateful for what God gives us. Just being so thankful that we're just so happy to have each other and be alive. We started in a 2-bedroom condo when we first had our first baby. We had a studio, then we had a condo. And when I walked into that condo, it was a little 900 square foot condo, 2-bedroom. But God just told me, and we didn't even have a vision for how many kids we'd have. I'd only had this first one. I didn't know how many kids we'd end up having. We were only going to have 33 by the time my husband was 30. That's all he wanted. Like 3 by 30. That's what I want. 2 girls and a boy. I was like, okay. And then the Lord really convicted us. We just got slammed right before I even had any babies with the philosophy and thought that, you know what, God, you open and close the womb.
That's
what
right.
right do I have? What right do I have to say, I'm offering my body as a living sacrifice to you, and I'm going to control it. I'm in charge of what I want for my life. How dare I? Yes. How dare I? And he just slammed me one day. I was like on the floor and crying, and I was using the pill, and I went to my husband and I said, I am really convicted, and I feel God is telling me that this is wrong for me to be using this. I learned more about what the pill was doing to my body and all that jazz, and I just said, I don't feel right about it. So I said, I put it in your hands, hon. I want you to know I respect you and I love you, and you are the head of our home, and I don't feel right doing this. And but if you say that's what you were going to do, I will respect you. But I understand that, God, you are responsible for the choices in this area that we make as far as that goes.
That's right. And
so I said, I'll honor you, but I want you to know as your wife and as a sister in Christ and a believer that God is telling me that this is wrong. Yeah. And he, read the scriptures with me, and he took my pills that day and he threw them in the trash.
Wow.
I was pregnant within like 3 months, I think, of that. And that was our first journey, and we didn't know what that was going to mean. Oh, man, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Wow. My husband's aunt, they never used anything for birth control. They had 5 children, and then just all of a sudden her womb was closed. Like they didn't change anything. They didn't know how many kids they would have. They didn't all of a sudden use a different process. They didn't all of a sudden use some kind of contraception. They literally just trusted God's timing of planting babies in their womb. And when God was done giving them children, they stopped having them.
Yes.
That was like amazing to me. That was really amazing. That's a serious amount of trust, first of all.
I feel like it's harder for the husband. honestly, in many ways, because they are the providers. They're seen as the provider, and God is our provider. And in order to yield, it's not just, oh, use my body. It is a bigger deal than that. We have to trust him with our money. We have to trust him with everything, and make decisions that are going to line up with those values.
So what does your husband do for a living?
He currently is an assistant manager at a towing company. Nice. He has been a truck driver. He had to change his entire life in the last 7 years. We've been entrepreneurs. We've owned businesses, and his business folded and went out of business earlier. And it's been, like I say, the journey. We were out of work for 18 months. Wow. It has been very, and at that point, I think I had 9.
Oh, my gosh.
Kids and it's been, and so he had to completely reinvent himself to have some kind of job. And he's so well, he's in the computer industry. He was in an Apple computer industry. I should say their name, but anyway, but the shop that he did all the repairs for, he owned this, went under because of the change in the way that they did business. Yeah. And so anyway,
he reinvented himself, and he's providing for the family. 13 family members. 11 kids and 1,100 square feet. And your answer is it's about being content, and we value each other more than we value stuff. Thank you so much, Maggie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
The next segment might just change your life. This is The Dani Johnson Show.
Prior to getting started with DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, we were spending absolutely every dime that we made. We were really struggling financially. Since plugging in to First Steps to Success just 4 months ago, we started a brand new business that is doing very, very well. We've paid off $4,500 in debt, but the most important thing is my relationship with my husband has improved dramatically. I mean, we have so much more fun together. I don't know about you, maybe your finances, you're doing great, maybe you're debt-free, maybe your relationships with your spouse, with your family are great. But if not, if you have some areas in your life that feel a little out of control, or there's things that you need to work on, I highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success as soon as you can.
Prior to being dragged out to First Steps to Success, I was hopeless. I had no point to life. It was a day-to-day existence, working a job I despised for people I didn't respect. Deeper and deeper debt every year. You just couldn't get on top of it. I just had no hopes or dreams, none at all, and there was no point to life. But since coming out, we paid off $280,000 worth of debt, married the woman of my dreams. I came to love my job and the people I work for. I have all kinds of hopes and dreams. I get to watch them happen every day. I don't know what your life is like, There's probably tons of hope. You probably know why you live and you got places you're going, but if you don't, you need to sign up for First Steps to Success. You go to DaniJohnson.com and you click on it and be here, because your life will not be the same if you do.
Prior to First Steps to Success, I was drowning in debt, I was terrified of my bills, and I wanted to travel, but I never had the money. And since coming to First Steps to Success, in the last 14 months, I've paid off over $18,000 in debt. I've gone on 6 vacations, and I'm not terrified of my bills anymore. So if you want to learn some proven strategies to really learn how to connect with people, take your life to the next level, all while having a total blast, you need to get registered for the next First Steps to Success today.
Prior to coming to First Step to Success, we were totally struggling, totally under the weight of $640,000 worth of debt, making $20,000 a month, but living paycheck to paycheck. So when we came here, and I realized that it takes a totally different skill set to keep money, to create wealth, than it is to make money, I have totally turned around our lifestyle. We have paid off $640,000 worth of debt in 2 years. We are debt-free as of June of 2013. I don't know where you you're at. You might have all your finances in order. You might have a wonderful life. Your marriage might be all perfect and your kids are behaving. But if not, if one of those things is lacking, you gotta get here. Book your next event. You need to be here. You will not regret it.
For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So Maggie, with 11 kids and 1,100 square feet, 13 people living in the house, give us one tip today on how you're able to successfully do this.
Okay, I would say as practical as possible, it would be order, keeping order in my home. And personal responsibility, teaching personal responsibility and self-government. That is high. People giving, taking, sharing the load, and everyone has a purpose in this family and in this life and work to do every day. And we need to work our work and make our work play and fun and enjoy each other as we go along the way.
That's amazing. Because here's the facts. That just right there, that 30 seconds that you just gave us that, of teaching personal responsibility and order. You are raising amazing citizens. You are raising amazing humans. You are raising amazing people. Because if everybody on the planet understood those two concepts right there, personal responsibility, everyone helps to carry the load. Everyone keeps everything in order. Then mom is not the dictator. Mom is not the one being overworked. Many hands make work easy. When there's only one person in charge of it all, then mom is overladen, feeling like she's being taken advantage of, and honestly, it's her fault. If she's not taught her children the foundation of personal responsibility and keeping their own stuff in their own place, owning their own mistakes and owning their own successes, then she is failing as a mother. So, there's been a lot on today's show. The amount of tips that we've had from these huge families, from Maggie saying about contentment and caring more about each other than we do stuff. Talk about pulling out of the 98%ers who'll end up dead or dead broke at the age of 65, depending on their family, friends, and federal government for their main source of income because they chase stuff their entire life. These families, from New York to California to Tennessee, I'm inspired today. I hope you are too. If they can do it, so can you. Please do the right thing. Please. A life can be changed just from the testimonies that were spoken today. I was inspired. I was challenged. You want to define success for you, and we just heard these 4 families who what? They defined success for themselves. They found what personally mattered more to them than what everybody else is trying to tell them success is. In my opinion, those families are successful. You can hear it in their voices. You could see it on the 2 faces, the 3 faces that we had here on camera. Pull out of the system, and you decide what success means to you. And live it out. Please share today's program. If you were at all impacted today, please share it on social media, through email, through text. Let somebody else's life be inspired the way yours and mine was today. This is Dani Johnson. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.